So if I was an OT, that would be my little realm. But then I'd never be short of work because I'd make so clear on my website, that's what I do. I'd make so clear on my LinkedIn, here's what I do. And not just that, I would give away so much knowledge and subject matter expert skill set all through LinkedIn. I wouldn't be posting, here's me with my friend. I'd be posting, here's how I handle it when there's a meltdown on the way. And then I'd make sure my service delivery matched my words. Because if we ever believe our own marketing, we've got a problem. We have to doubt our own marketing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Healthy Business Lab podcast, where we normally interview allied health business owners and hear their insights and stories. But with us sort of evolving this podcast, we're also talking to people who help allied health business owners do more, create more amazing, sustainable businesses and practices. And today, I'm super excited to have Michael Clark from Athletic Koala on the call today. So welcome to the chat, Michael.
I'm just delighted to be here. I love your allied health people. I work with them all the time, and they're some of the best people on the planet. And no one goes into allied health if they're not a good person. So I'm delighted to be here, see what we can do to help them.
Yeah, so true. And I guess I'd love for you to share a bit of your background as well, Michael, because you've sat on both sides of the fence in being a service provider as well, now more in the marketing space. I'd love to get a bit of that backstory of what you got into the space and some of your learnings in the industry.
Sure. Well, once upon a time, there was a school teacher who then COVID hit and he was sitting around at home. He thought, I could be doing more with life than this. And then I'm trying to think of like a goblin or a princess. That didn't happen. But what did happen was I realized I could help people who have autism really effectively to build their social skills on Zoom. And that was before Zoom was a big thing, right? Because kids with autism love sitting at home on the computer compared to going to some allied health office. So before I knew it, I was a provider of services to people who have autism and building their social skills. And it was one of the most joyful things I've ever done in my life. But then, like most businesses, competition came in, the price guide limited how much I could charge, and it stopped being so profitable. And I'm like, this is hard work. And I realized, and a lot of your allied health people would experience this, I am actually not earning enough to justify the many, many hours I'm taking away from my family. This is not sensible. So at that point, I went, well, what can I do? What I can do is I can work sensible hours, wrap up like the supporting social skill stuff that I'm doing, pass those people off to other good people who can do just as good a job as me. And what I can do is I can find allied health providers and other NDIS providers who I wholeheartedly believe in. And I know quite a few, okay, who I would walk on hot coals for. And I can help them with their getting the right people in their front door. Because something, Craig, that I noticed a lot is a lot of allied health providers in the early stages, they will accept anyone in the front door without them being the right people for their business. And it's not until they have, say, 3 staff, 5 staff, they start to experience so much pain from doing that they change because the owner's always so talented. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. What you've shared there is a lovely sort of evolution there. You've been in this space, you've seen how it works from the inside, and again, evolving a business and getting the right people on board, the right clientele, plus also the right team, paramount to having a nice, sustainable business and practice and the like. And so I guess as you've sort of evolved and you've gone through some of those transitions and evolutions, your own sort of story and where you are today, I'd love to hear some of the experiments that you've put in to get the right people and the right clientele that is a good fit for businesses and the like. What are a couple of things that have worked and even some that haven't worked, but has taught you some great lessons in what you now do?
Yeah, well, to be honest, about 7 in every 10 things that people try will not work. So we need to try lots of things if we want some things to work. And when I say that, most allied health providers, Craig, they're by nature very play it safe people. They got an ATAR of 98, okay, when they went to school. They passed uni with HDs. They're looking for the approval of everyone around them. They're not used to anything not going right. But if you want to bring the right people in the front door, you actually need to try a couple of different marketing channels. You can't just rely on word of mouth. So what happens, Craig, is you're a very talented allied health person. And I got an ATAR of 97 equivalent. Like, I get it. No one wants to fail. Okay. But to the talented person who's the founder of any allied health, they can handle whatever. But then well, you've got your 5th staff member, your 7th staff member, suddenly the wheels fall off because they didn't niche. They didn't work out who they serve and who they don't serve. They thought they were being inclusive when actually they were being vanilla. So at that point, you've got to say, well, what are the levers that we can use? And so my job is helping allied health and other NDIS providers to work out what levers have I got right here that I could use. The levers that used to work, if you go back to say 21, 2022, Facebook ads. I've spent almost probably $500,000 of other people's money and my money on Facebook ads. Hugely effective back then. They're not so effective now. What works now? It's having a website that's absolutely clear about who you serve and then having connections with other providers where they know exactly who you serve and who you don't serve. And that's LinkedIn. And you can do 100 other things, Craig, but those are the two things that are going to matter most. Oh, probably a third thing, which would be make sure you're serving people wholeheartedly and make sure you're very good at your craft. Okay, so website, LinkedIn, and be serving people wholeheartedly. They're the levers.
Yeah, cool. Love that. And it's just simplifying and again, sharing some of the things that have worked in the past that potentially don't work as well. Again, depending on how deep your pockets are, sometimes those things might be able to work. And again, how niche you potentially are. Generally what we find is the more niche people are, the more opportunity there is. Yeah, you touched upon that at the very first start as you started to bring that in. And I guess that also speaks to the website, into the LinkedIn, into the delivery model, whatever that model is for a business. I'd love to just delve into that a little bit further then. Again, to just tying those dots together, because I know you're also a massive fan of storytelling in sort of crafting that story. How can people go about that?
Yeah. So the thing that allied health providers need to understand is that at the moment they're protected. They've got a wall around them. They're safe in their castle of allied health. NDIS is not smashing allied health the way that NDIS is smashing a lot of other NDIS segments. So allied health is sitting here going, what do you mean? I don't have a problem. I've got plenty of referrals, or they might go, my wait list was 12 months. Now it's 3 months. Oh, it's not ideal, but guys, give it another 6 months and you won't have a 3-month wait list. The issue we've got there is that allied health are coming from this protected position. They're almost like that beautiful little duckling that's been nurtured by the mother who's about to go out into the real world and about to get stomped on. Okay, so allied health needs to be very aware right now is the time to work out who you serve, how you serve them, why you're different from allied health down the road, because NDIS is squeezing. And if NDIS squeezes, then there's actually less demand for allied health. And there's also in a lot of places more and more supply coming on. Okay, sure, we've got staffing limitations, but there's more and more supply. So the time to niche, the time to be clear about who you serve is now. Now, it doesn't mean you can't serve a lot of people. If I say, let's imagine if I was an OT and I'm allied health and I serve teenagers and young adults with autism and I help them with their social skills, right? That doesn't mean I can't help others, but I don't want to stray too far from that because the world is big enough with people who are in my niche that if I become super well known at that niche, I will never be short of referrals. Not now and not in 2 years' time when referrals have practically dried up. So it's the time to niche is now. And to do that, Craig, we've got to work out what am I good at? What do I love to do? Like, Craig, if I'm honest, I would so happily live in autism world for the rest of my life. I love helping young people with autism. I love it like I have no words for it. Because at first, when you step into that world, you feel like, oh, how do I help people? But then you realize everything's just formulas. Just turn everything into a formula, make everything into a game, make everything safe. And talk about Minecraft a lot. And suddenly you're there. So if I was an OT, that would be my little realm. But then I'd never be short of work because I'd make so clear on my website, that's what I do. I'd make so clear on my LinkedIn, here's what I do. And not just that, I would give away so much knowledge and subject matter expert skill set all through LinkedIn. I wouldn't be posting, here's me with my friend. I'd be posting, here's how I handle it when there's a meltdown on the way. And then I'd make sure my service delivery matched my words. Because if we ever believe our own marketing, we've got a problem. We have to doubt our own marketing. Those are the sort of things that go through my head, Craig.
Yeah, cool. And I think that notion of, and you sort of started to talk into that, was the notion of when you've got a niche, it actually becomes so much easier to tell that story because you can think of that one person that is your sort of your clientele, the resemblance of that clientele, which then makes it easy to tell a story for that person with all that content that you started to touch upon. It's the stories, it's the what works for them, what resonates, and all those things, which then actually just makes that process. And I'm presuming the clientele that you work with, that you help with that, the clearer they are on that picture, the easier it is for you to be able to leverage those stories and get them to where they need to be.
That's right. And tell the truth. Okay, people go, oh, he's telling a story. Is it a true story? If it's a true story, tell it. If it's not a true story, well, don't tell it. But it's like, when you think about it, let's imagine if you've got, say, a speech therapist who's, say, specializing in autism. They would have all the gear that specialize for what those young people want to do. They would have the Minecraft. They would have the Lego. They would have whatever is most likely going to be something that resonates there. Or if they want to specialize in something different, say wheelchair access, whatever, then they'll go and find someone like, say, Justin Boulos, and they'll learn from him how to do that. But when you know exactly who you serve, you've got all the gear, and all your stories resonate, and imposter syndrome disappears over the horizon really quickly because people come to you going, we've got this issue, it's hard. I'm like, well, I've seen that issue 1,000 times before. How do I gently frame it so that this is taken on board well? And you just speak from your experience. And you can't speak from experience if you're there for everyone. You need to be there for what you're there for.
Yeah, that's nice. And you talk about talking from experience, the old Gestalt protocol of once we share our stories, our own experiences and the like, that's what resonates with people at the line through that frame of
Well, stories is just connection, Craig. When you and I got together, I love the Profit First book. I love it. You and I, we shared stories about what I got out of that book, and so that's connection instantly. So your stories are your connection, but connection has to live on a foundation of truth. If I go out there and pretend I'm good at helping people with wheelchair access, I'll go crashing and burning in a day because I'm not. I'm really good in the autism space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. That's such a good little point there. And I think interesting talking about stories and website and sharing that expertise from a website point of view. And you also touched upon there the flow into, say, LinkedIn, which is where you've got a bunch going on at the moment. And I know it's this place, it's part of how we connected as well. And just that having conversations in that space. I'd love to hear your experience and how you're approaching LinkedIn in the current climate.
Yeah, well, LinkedIn is the last unturned stone in 2025 for gaining referrals, for being known as a subject matter expert, for people sending you participants or clients who are right for you. Because LinkedIn used to suck. About a year ago, if you're on LinkedIn, it was probably because you're a loser looking for a job and everyone viewed you like that. Okay, obviously I'm being smart aleck, but that's sort of how it was viewed and that's how it was. Whereas in 2025, LinkedIn is not that. LinkedIn is a cafe where I can meet Craig, I can see what Craig's doing, I can see that he loves his profit first stuff, and I can connect with him about that and we can just chat about life. 6 months later, you've been on my podcast, I've been on yours, and we've helped each other's audiences do well because LinkedIn is a cafe. People view LinkedIn like it's Facebook or Instagram. Facebook is for grandmothers to share dog pictures and cake pictures. You will get no traction in Facebook if you start from scratch now. Graham, great if you're a physio, take some photos of yourself at the gym, throw it up there and impress whoever you think you're impressing. But LinkedIn is not a broadcast like Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn is a cafe where you sit down and chat with people and you build relationships with people. Yesterday, I was feeling a bit down, to be honest, Craig. I had some hard things happen in my world yesterday and, I sorted them out, I dealt with them, but I was feeling a bit down. I jumped on LinkedIn and after 10 minutes, I'd connected with about 5 or 10 people who I really like. I felt like $1 million. You don't get that elsewhere. But those same 5 or 10 people, I connected with them and I was actually contributing ideas to help them with questions they were asking that were things that worried them. And I felt great because I got to help someone. In the same way, if I've got a client who I work for, I do some business coaching and she's struggling with what she's going to do with staffing. I put that up on LinkedIn today and said, hey, can someone help her out? And I know that 10, 20 people are going to give her some advice over the next week. You don't get that anywhere else. So LinkedIn is a cafe. It's where you go, you hang out, you act like you would at a cafe. You don't tell everyone how good you are. You just see how you be helpful and you just enjoy people.
Cool. I love that idea of thinking of, again, it's a visual of having your networking / conversations, which again is very much what you touched upon earlier, is that how do you have authentic conversations and where do they lead? Because at the end of the day, we are a sum of all the connections that we've got and, the people we surround ourselves with. And I find that's definitely how I've experienced, again, being able to have deeper conversations and more meaningful because of what you just touched upon, as far as I can see what that person's up to. I can see a bit of their background and a bit more clarity in the expertise that they're sharing, which is where I like to learn and see about people, because that's usually what they spend most of their time on. Well, where are these people spending their time and what kind of person are they and how are they interacting with people in somewhere like that? So
that's right. Because the true you is going to come out eventually. If you turn up to LinkedIn with your Facebook version of you, your marketing version, people are going to ignore you because when someone weird walks into a cafe, everyone just goes, oh yeah, whatevs, and they go back to their conversation. But if you turn up helpful and consistently turn up helpful and make an effort to build a conversation, all the OTs and speechies and any allied health listening to this right now are probably thinking, Craig, that's great, but I don't need that. And you may not need that today, but you sure as heck, the way NDIS is going, are going to need it in 6 months. So mission 1 on every allied health agenda really could be start building my connections on LinkedIn. It takes about 3 to 6 months to end up with heaps of, I'm not talking about followers, I'm not talking about fans or whatever, I'm talking about people who you can leave a voicemail for. Okay. 3 to 6 months. So because that time is probably coming for allied health in about 3 months, now's the time to get on LinkedIn. Now's the time to get on LinkedIn Premium so that you can then reach out to others. Now's the time to start posting, hey, here's what I do in my practice, and here's what works, and here's what I find difficult. Start being real and start building those genuine connections. Now is the time.
Yeah, spot on. I think, some of the episodes that we've already had on this podcast has been a bunch of practice owners that have been doing just that and reaching out and learning from, sharing their knowledge, having those conversations, and then lifting the hood on each other's businesses to be able to go, oh, is that how you're doing it? And some of the stories that we're hearing is all the people that are looking at things differently because, again, the goalposts change. It doesn't matter whether it's NDIS, whether it's macroeconomic events or microeconomic events happening, locally where people are based and the like, but there's always things that are changing, and knowing more, learning more from others in this space can only be beneficial to go when something does happen, or if we're trying to plan as you're recommending that people do, which we wholeheartedly agree about. It's like, got a bit of a toolkit of things that we can think of. We can lean on people to dig a bit deeper on those ideas when it's like, that's a thought bubble that's been percolating there. Yeah, that's, again, everything you're saying is 100% aligning with any of the conversations that we've been having here.
Well, I'm glad it's aligning. And true story, if I go back about 3 or 4 months, my job is not serving individuals, participants. My job right now is coming into an NDIS business or an allied health business, just working with the director for about a month or two, helping them get whatever they need sorted. Okay. And generally it's going to be, a website is from 2019. It's time to actually make it real and look good and clearly articulate what they do and what they don't do. And then it's going to be get their staff onto LinkedIn using LinkedIn in a way that builds relationships. That's generally, it'll be one or both of those things. But for me, I had a client a couple of months ago who was just so angry at me and I'd done a miraculously good job for them, but they were so angry. And I was starting to feel like, am I just a failure? How can I do a job this good and then somehow have someone this upset with me? How does this work? But on LinkedIn, I've got 2 other guys I know who do an outstanding job of websites. So I messaged one of them and said, hey, can I have a chat? I'd never chatted with him face to face before. And I called him up. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm dealing with. I feel like such a failure. And he walked me through all the different steps. Had you done this? Yes, I had. Had you done that? Yes, that's exactly what I did. And we got to the end of it. He's like, Michael, sometimes you win some, you lose some. And I felt so good because a peer had said to me, Michael, you don't have to doubt yourself for another 2 weeks. You gave it your best crack, but some people, they're just not built for you. In fact, maybe they're not built for anyone, but they're definitely not built for you. And to have a peer say that was amazing. Now, let's imagine if I was a 27-year-old OT and I was doubting myself. I was feeling like my workplace was pushing me into fields I'm not good at. These are the conversations you can have on LinkedIn without having to involve the people in your current workplace where you might feel a bit embarrassed, It's a miraculous place from that perspective.
Yeah. And for people that haven't done that much before or at all, often it's a bit of a fear factor component of, this is that person over there. They wouldn't want to talk to me. But again, from what you've just shared there, I know our experience is that people are willing to share because people want to help. And the same as everybody in allied health who is, again, very heart-centered, generally wanting to help other people, that's what I'm tending to find, is you'll find those people out there if you do actually just reach out and put yourself out there in that space.
It's so true. I was chatting with another business coach recently. His name's Tom Hitchcock. He is in Sydney. And he was saying, people don't realize that in allied health and NDIS, it is not like the real world. He said, in allied health and NDIS, if you want to meet up with someone or talk to them or ask them an opinion, you do it. And 90% of the time, they'll be open to it. He said, you go and try to do that in the carpet business or the tiling business, you'll be flat out having one person say yes a year. So we're in this magical wonderland. So let's use the tools. And LinkedIn is one of those tools. It doesn't mean you can ignore your website and just leave your website looking like 2019. It doesn't mean you can ignore your service delivery. But LinkedIn is where you connect with other providers. And I give away so many referrals. A lot of people come to me, Michael, can you sort my website? And I have a look at what they're doing. And I'm like, this person is not right for me, but I'll send them to Greg Chadwick and I'll send them to him, or I'll send them to Chris Slapper. Okay. Or I'll send them to whoever, but I give away so many referrals. I don't care, because what happens is we can end up with this greedy mindset of, I must prove myself to everyone. I must be good at everything. Or this greedy mindset of, referrals are drying up, so I must hoard these. It's like, no, give away what's not good for you. Others will do the same. It won't be the same people you refer to. People have this idea of, I need to give Craig these 5 referrals and he'll give me 5. No, I give Craig these 5 referrals and then Craig's friend, Jonathan, sends me like 2 referrals. But it's like, now Allied Health are a bit shielded from that, remember, because they've got a lot more people to draw from at this point. But we need to be generous. We need to be giving, and not just with referrals, but also with our time. Often, Craig, I'll see someone's had a really hard time. They'll post something like, I just had the hardest participant. Here's what happened. Obviously, they'll hide names and change stuff. I'll jump on my phone and I'll just leave them a voicemail, a 40-second voicemail. Hey, I sorted it. I mean, I don't do this for strangers, Craig. But I mean, if you did this, if you put a post like that up, I'd do it for you. I'd be like, hey, Craig, I heard you had a really rough day. Sounds really hard. Let's not forget, though, when it comes to Profit First, you're like number 1 or 2 or 3 in Australia. So, yeah, you've had a crap day, Craig, but I'm right here for you. I mean, what would go through your head if I left you that voicemail?
Yeah, 100%. It's that feeling factor. It's the connection. It's there's people out there that know, understand, and they're there for you.
That's right. And that's what friends do. So LinkedIn is the place. It's not true friendship because you're not sitting down having a coffee with someone in person, but it's what a friend would do. So it's the closest you're going to get to friendships within a workplace.
Yeah, I love that. And I'd love to sort of move through that notion there of creating friendships, creating relationships, creating business outcomes as well. And you touched upon an example there when things sometimes don't go quite right and you can have people there to lean on. I'd love to hear the other side of that coin of we always love to share some transformations that we are able to help people with and the like. I'd love to hear an example that you've had that really sticks out in your mind.
Sure. Well, maybe this morning then, like I run a couple of different coaching programs for people in LinkedIn. People are like, what do you mean coaching in LinkedIn? No, I'm serious. It's like you get coached in how to play golf or how to do swimming. You get coached in how to do LinkedIn well, how to be you, how to be the authentic you, how to not be salesy, how to not think like Facebook. And I was coaching someone this morning, and as part of the coaching I do for her, I create for her a whole bunch of videos of her talking about her work stuff and skills that she can basically give away. Because what's behind that, Craig, is that people will see the skills she's giving away and they go, oh, she's awesome at XYZ. So when they have a local referral XYZ, they send it straight to her. Easy. But I asked her, what has LinkedIn done for you even in the last couple of weeks? Because I've only been working with her for a couple of weeks. I'm working for a whole workplace. And she's one of them. And she said, I feel so confident. I feel like I've got people I can talk to. I feel like I'm learning so much from others' posts. And Craig, she's been with me for 3 weeks. Okay, imagine after 3 months. So there's so much supportive networking that happens. Not networking as in me, gimme. Okay, leave that for the SEAL providers or leave that for the whoever. It's not like that. It's like the truth of every day, instead of doom scrolling Facebook, just sort of doom scrolling, so to speak, LinkedIn, just learning, here's how this person does that. Here's how this person does this. You know, I've got almost heroes in my mind of people on LinkedIn who I'm just learning from every day. As soon as I see their post, I'm so excited. What am I going to learn today from David Dinker, a physio down in Melbourne? Amazing guy. What will I learn? You know, it's like, if nothing else, the learning, Craig, is what people are getting out of.
Love that share. And I've got a bit of time here. Let's connect in another one. You got a very recent memory there, a bit of a transformation. Let's throw one from a little while ago that you had a bit more time to play out. What other transformation comes to mind of outcomes that you've got for somebody following even that idea of website through to LinkedIn and sort of the more rounded, bigger picture?
Yeah. So if I go back let's say about 4 or 5 months ago, there was an organisation I was working for. They weren't Allied Health. They were accommodation, NDIS accommodation. And the first thing we did was have a look at their website. And honestly, it looked like your grandma built it. Okay. And it was just horrendous. Anyone who went to that website was not going to find them. So we solved that. Sure. A month later, they have a beautiful website humming beautifully. And then I took about their top 3 or 4 or 5 staff and equipped them with the skills they need to not just turn up on LinkedIn like, hi, look at me. Come to our accommodation. We have an open day. No. Instead, it was like, hi, here's how you do accommodation well. Here's the supports you put in place. Here's the people who I turn to when I don't know an answer. Here's how I get through a hard day. Here's the things that stress me out, and here's the things that I do to handle that stress. And I equip them with that. Now, the reality is when you do that with an organization, about half of them are going to take it up and they're going to be like LinkedIn lifers, okay? And the other half are going to do it because their boss asked them nicely. So if I look at what happened, that organization went from no one really knew who they were to within a couple of weeks, they were getting thousands of impressions, thousands of people discovering what they do. And then all they had to do was get up and talk, get up and explain stuff. And as long as they weren't self-serving, they win. But unfortunately, I wrapped up with them. I finished working with them. And then I've looked at their more recent stuff and they're starting to go back to the salesy promotion. I know. And I'm like, oh, so they've had the magic. They've built a network that's huge and they're not completely salesy. They're not all Facebook yet, but you can see it starting to creep back in because it's what's known. And we always go back to what's known, but that's not what will win them. Yeah. That's right. That won't win them the game. But then I compare that to say someone else I know on LinkedIn, like say David Dinker, one of the number one physios on LinkedIn, DINCA. He has hundreds of thousands of views a month because all he does is get up and give opinionated stuff and entertaining stuff. Not once does he say, come and join my business. So I look at what he's doing and the numbers don't lie. So my encouragement to people would be start by dipping your toe in the water. Okay. You dip your toe in the water by put up some posts that are real. Don't advertise how good you are. Just be like, hey, here's how I do this. It's not scary to go, here's how I turn up. Here's the gear that I bring. Here's what my workspace is set up like. And here's why it's set up like that. Just put up some stuff. And then when you put a post up, you send a message to a few friends going, hey, I just did a post. Can you go and have a look at it? And if you're happy to, just throw a comment on. And they do that. And they're happy to do it. I think I've done that with you once before, that, Craig. But anyway, it's like they do that. And then you make sure that you jump on LinkedIn Premium, which is free for the first month, because Premium gives you the opportunity to reach out to 100 people a month and say, hey, connect with me. 100. So no, 100 people a week. Sorry. That's 400 people a month. About 70% of them will be delighted to connect with you. If you're a physio, you try and connect with physios. If you're OT, well, you might try other OTs, but you might also think speeches because, OTs and speeches love to work hand in hand at times. So you just reach out to people. I went from a network of 0 people in November. At the moment, I've got about 2,700 people in that connection network. Now, Craig, that doesn't mean 2,700 friends. Of those 2,700 people, if I was to send a message to every single one of them, which I could do, I would get about 800 responses back. And those are the 800 that you invest yourself in. You don't invest yourself in the watchers, the lurkers, the people who are just looking around. Let them be them, okay? You invest yourself in the people who will respond back. But every month, Craig, I've probably got about 400 people who I will either send a message to or a voicemail, and it literally takes 15 seconds. And sometimes it's just, hey, here's the post that I did. I think it's relevant to you because you've said such and such before. Here you go. Except I work out the 20-second version of that. It's joy and it's easy and it's fun. But more than that is you get to meet other people. You get the benefit of their experience. So it's like, Craig, if you and I, if I ever had a profitability issue, you'd be one of the first guys I'd talk to because we've known each other on LinkedIn. You'll be happy to have a 10, 20-minute chat and help me diagnose what the problem is. And you wouldn't charge me for it. You're just helping a friend. In the same way, if you had a marketing problem, I'd be like, oh, what are you facing, Craig? Because that's what real friends do in cafes. And this is the closest we'll get to that.
I love that. And that's a great way to round out our chat here with some nice little takeaways. I love that, what you shared there, Michael, just being able to start by dipping your toe into the water. Start by sharing what's real, what's happening now, and then also how to go about actually just start making some connections and who to connect with, how to go about that. So that's been super awesome. We've covered a lot in a relatively short space of time, but obviously if people do want to connect, which, we definitely want people to connect, and obviously we'll share in the show notes your LinkedIn details, but outside of obviously your LinkedIn, number one place to connect, where else should people look you up and reach out to you at?
Yeah, if they had trouble finding me, they'd just send you a message, Craig, go, hey, where's that Michael Clark guy from Athletic Koala? My business name's actually called Athletic Koala, so no one can forget it. Because have you ever seen a koala that's athletic? No. So they could just Google Athletic Koala, you'll find me. But the reality is I'm one of many sources of information that are out there for you once you get onto LinkedIn. I run a couple of courses, a couple of different levels of coaching, Craig, for LinkedIn. I also do websites for people. But the truth is every allied health provider needs to understand there is a tidal wave coming of not good stuff from NDIS. And allied health we can't put our head in the sand and go, it won't happen to us. It will happen to us. It's happened to almost everyone else. It's coming for you. So now's the time to plant the seeds that you'll harvest in 3 to 6 months' time. So when your other allied health friends are struggling, you're still standing.
Well, that wraps things up very nicely, very aligned with what we talk about here at the Healthy Business Lab and on the podcast here is being very thoughtful, being strategic, planning for what's coming ahead. And if you do need any help with anything around that, reach out to your connection, to your networks, to Michael and to myself. So thank you very much for your time. Again, Michael, so appreciated for all the nuggets you've shared there today. And for everybody listening, obviously we'll have all the details and all the links in the show notes that we've talked about here, and feel free. Make sure you like, subscribe, and keep on following more for great content just like this. Thanks again, Michael. Over and out from us here.
Keep it up, Craig.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Business Lab podcast. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with all the latest episodes.